I used to collect stamps. That was my hobby when I was a boy. Today I don't identify as an active collector, but I still keep my collection. I believe the last set of stamps I bought was this one. It features Leonard Cohen, a Canadian songwriter. I don't recall buying other stamps in my life, but this set has something unique and great significance in Canadian culture. Some academic studies suggest that stamps can reveal much about a country, its history, and also speak something about their collectors. It might be a good idea to reactivate this leisure. If I propose serious and leisure in one sentence, what comes to mind? Should leisure be taken as a serious topic? Should leisure be taken seriously? You might know someone passionate about their leisure. How has their commitment impacted their life, their identities, and their community? I'm Saulo, and I'm curious about leisure and its transformative power. Journey with me through this documentary to explore how people have discovered meaning and joy through their leisure. Welcome to my serious life. My collection started after an English officer of the Salvation Army in Brazil gave me a few stamps. She told me I could start this hobby, something I would never imagine as possible. She used to give them to a friend, the son of a Corps officer, who also encouraged me to start collecting the stamps. The English officer told me that she would gather the stamps from the letters she received from people around the world and would give them to that friend and also to me. Both taught me the basics of how to care for the stamps. As the officers moved, I met others and asked if they could give me the stamps from their correspondences to help me grow my collection. They did it, so I increased my collection for a while. It's funny that my friend gave me the first 3 stamps of my collection and I lost them, but one day my father came home with this album. He brought me some stamps with it. That was a great day. As mentioned earlier, the Serious Leisure Perspective, or SLP, has 3 types of participants: volunteers, hobbyists, and amateurs. Hobbyists are classified into 5 categories: collectors, makers and tinkerers, active participants, players of sports and games, and enthusiasts of the liberal arts hobbies, which are primarily reading pursuits. Collecting is intriguing, particularly if you consider how it can foster community development. Today I present Thando Mkhabela, a sneakerhead. I'm not swearing. Thando is a shoe collector. In her world, being a sneakerhead may be a good thing.
My story started in South Africa. Converse are a big part of my culture, so weddings, ceremonies, traditional dances, and streetwear culture, and so that's where it all started with a pair of Converse. They're just what I grew up with.
When Thando talks, I can feel her passion and excitement. Her stories can illustrate some of the main features of serious leisure, including the 6 distinguishing qualities of serious leisure, but also point to some interesting elements that expand and exceed what has been explored through the SLP so far. She started telling me about participants in the sneaker world and how open it can be to new people.
Okay, so in the sneaker world, for those people that have been in sneakers for a while, those would be the OG sneakerheads. Those are the people, like when in hip hop culture, in streetwear culture, when sneakers really became predominant, those would be the OG sneakerheads. So they started as kids. They were lining up, they were buying sneakers for $60. They, after school, Saturday morning. So those are known as OG sneakerheads. For the new ones, I don't know if there's a term, but yeah, there are people who are just starting their collections and who are starting to get more into the sneaker world, and everyone is welcome.
Regarding career, Bob Stemmons talks about the various stages a person can go through in their engagement with their chosen activity, considering the different levels of involvement and the possible hierarchy based on that. The idea is mainly based on the works of the Canadian-American sociologist Irving Goffman in the 60s and 70s. Some Turkish scholars have even developed a serious leisure career scale to analyze that quality of serious leisure.
I don't know if there was a certain idea of me starting to collect. I think I just started finding more and more pairs that I liked, and so it was adding more and more to the collection. So for even like starting with Converse, I think I probably had maybe close to 20 pairs of Converse in my life. Cause you know, growing up as a kid and then they would get too small, I would wear them too much, they would get too old. So I think over time, it was kind of like that where, oh, I really like this one, but I also like this pair, but that pair is also nice. And so from there, I just started collecting more and more. Some got too small, some got worn out, some got old, and yeah, just the collection started. And okay, how many pairs? I think in my collection I'm looking at about 130, so 130 pairs.
One of my takeaways from Thando's conversation is that shoe collectors don't just buy shoes. They research, strategize, and hunt for the perfect addition to their collection. This effort is what separates casual buyers from serious collectors.
Oh yes, that is a big part of sneakers. So there are pairs that are rare, there are limited pairs, there are old pairs that, hey, we made 100 pairs of this shoe and now they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So those are special, those exist, and it's kind of, you know, it's kind of a thing that you want to have in your collection, being like, I have one of 100, I have one of 20,000, I have one of, you know, they made one of this pair in the world. So it kind of depends, but there is that thing of, you know, like you said, defect. If there's defect on a shoe, it's like, oh, you got that pair. Like I think last year someone had shown they received a pair from Nike that didn't have a check mark. And so that was a coveted pair because you got a shoe from Nike that doesn't have a check mark. Wow. So the whole community kind of went crazy over it, and now he has one of one.
It may sound strange to many, but collecting shoes is surrounded by excitement in a vibrant, unique world.
Community. Well, there is a sneaker community. There are sneakerheads all over. Locally, I know a few of the Sneakerheads. There's a show every year where we all come together, we trade, we talk about sneakers. Same thing of, where did you get that pair? I've never seen them before. You have that pair? So that's locally here in this area, like in the Calgary area. But then I have friends from all over the world that I've met through sneakers. So it starts simple as, you know, online meeting, and you're on Instagram, you're on socials, you're on YouTube watching other people review sneakers, look at sneakers, and then you just start chatting. I wear kind of a rare size, so a lot of my community has started from there. Oh, you're also this size? So it's a 7 men, not 7 youth, 7 men. So that means my foot is slightly wider, so it doesn't fit into the kid size, so I have to go to the men's size. And so I've really built a community around that, having other people who are my size and helping each other. Where do you find your pairs? How, like, you know, how did you find that pair in our size? And so from there, the community starts having those conversations, getting excited about our passion together is a big part of it, and then just helping each other along the way. The sneaker community spreads far. It is worldwide. So I filmed a couple of things, including like recording a podcast episode. And so for that, I've had messages from a guy in Australia. Hey, I left that message. Like, you know, the podcast episode, you did so great. Friends like sneaker community. There's a big store, Kith. They just opened a store in Japan, I think earlier today, actually. It is all over the world. And like I said, my roots started in South Africa. And to this day, I still have friends. Even yesterday, we were all logged in at the same time. It was 1 p.m. for them. It was 5 a.m. here. And we are all logging in to try and get the same pair of sneakers. So it is worldwide, and we are all in it kind of together, and we all share the same passion for our sneakers and, you know, the sneaker world.
In this world, collectors face challenges, finding a rare item, affording a priced piece, or even explaining their passion to others. Perseverance is needed to keep them going, turning obstacles into stepping stones.
Yes. Okay, in terms of perseverance in the sneaker community, I think a lot of it comes to what size are you? And so size 7M in particular, like I was saying, it's a very rare size and not all stores offer it. So for me personally, for some of my shoes, I have to buy them from the US because I'll look, and in Canada, they just don't have my size. And so that is one thing, sizing. And if you have, so my particular size, 7M, or if you have a size 13, a size 14, those are also tend to be rare. And then when you can't find your size, you can buy it, but then they are at resale pricing, which basically means someone has taken that price they would get them from at the store and double, triple, quadrupled the price. So, you know, a shoe someone else got for $300, they are now selling it to me for $1,200 because I have that rare size. And so those are some of the things that are a bit hard. And in terms of the community, there are some people when there are those special limited edition coveted pair where people really do sometimes take it a little overboard. I had a release where I was once, we had slept over because we really wanted this pair. Me and my friend, we slept over. It was a group of us. We call it camping out. So I camped out for this pair of shoes, and the next morning there was a mob. There was a mob, and so a bunch of people are now running and rushing to the door to try and get this pair and to make sure that they're first, and they get that, you know, usually they give tickets, so they got that ticket with their number saying they can get a pair. So that's where some of the negatives come into place when it comes to sizing or overpricing for those rare pairs, or in situations like that where now there was a mob for a pair of shoes. So okay, so for this particular release, it was the Jordan Lost and Found. It was an old pair that kind of retroed. So it was a new twist on an old pair, the Chicagos. And so everyone was super excited. Hey, they're bringing back a classic. People hadn't had them in years. And if you weren't into sneakers years and years ago, this was kind of a chance for you to get this very special pair. So we lined up Chinook and here at Calgary, and me and my friend, I think we started lining up at 11 p.m. The shoe was to release at 7 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So overnight, we stayed overnight. It was in November. It was cold. So we had on our layers, we had on our jackets, winter boots, and we were standing outside the mall. We had great conversations, met some amazing people, a mom and her 2 kids who were super excited because she was like, you know, my kids love this and I get to line up with them and kind of share this passion with them. Okay, so we're lining up, everyone's chatting, it's great. And then at about, I think it was 6:45, at 6:45, a group of local resellers came through. They parked at the end of the parking lot, and then at 6:45, you kind of saw them pull up to the doors, and they formed their own line. But we stayed where we were because we're like, okay, you know, this is where we've been for almost 8 hours now, so we'll just stay here. And then the managers of this store came out, and when they came out, they said, hey, we had mentioned that you guys shouldn't line up overnight, but this queue is the right queue. So at that moment, that line had grown, that overnight line had grown, and so people were trickling in. So we had started there at 11. People were trickling in at 12. 1, 2, so overnight, let's say there was 150 people in our line now, and we were probably in the first 20 people, so in our line it grown to 100. So all of those people, when they heard that, they all went from the right side to the left side where now the correct line was. Yes, I remember hearing the mom screaming for her children, and yes, it got a bit hectic and a knife was pulled. And so yes, to this day, I don't own that shoe because of that memory of being in that crazy mob. And I remember holding on to my friend because I was like, if anything happens, they are taking me with I'm getting trampled over. I'm 5'2", like it was a bit hectic and stressful, and so I was holding on to my friend. Yeah, but Definitely the craziest sneaker release I've been to. And yeah, to this day, I still don't own that shoe because it kind of has that bad memory in my head, right? Where it was supposed to be a good experience. I had met some great people. We spent 8 hours hanging out and talking and, about our lives and sneakers and, how excited we were about that pair. So that pair, unless I get it for retail, even if someone gifts it to me, they would have to get it at that retail price. But it's one of those pairs, because it was so special, it does resell. Because it is a retro of like a coveted original Jordan, it does resell. And so even if someone were to buy it for me, I would want them personally to get it for retail, because I'm like, oh, every time I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, when I almost got trampled and someone pulled a knife at a sneaker release. So
beyond the sneakers themselves, collecting brings something deeper: knowledge, friendship, and a sense of accomplishment. These are the rewards that make the pursuit worthwhile. Collectors share a special jargon, a language specific to their world.
oh, for sure, there is sneaker terminology. If I'd say DS, unworn, GR, Grail. So those are some of the words that in the sneaker community, if you say those, people know. I'm like, what's your Grail pair? Which basically means like, what is the holy Grail pair? What is the pair you must have? So, when I say them, not a lot of people would know, but in the sneaker community, there's terminology and people, if you know, you know.
But they also share unspoken language, details about models, release years, and stories behind each piece.
Yeah. Okay. So when you see those rare pairs, so you can go into any store, you can go to a Nike and be like, okay, you know what? I like that sneaker. That's fine. But when you see those special pairs that are only released in certain stores, or, oh, that was only in Europe, but you're in Calgary and you have that pair, then you tend to know that those people are sneaker people. Those are sneakerheads. Those are people who know the sneaker world and the sneaker community. So yeah, those are kind of the trademarks. Or if you see they're even wearing a shirt with a certain brand, you're like, okay, that's usually sneaker related. And then you look and you're like, oh, that's a special collaboration that wasn't available in the city, not even in Canada, or they probably had to get someone to ship it to them. Those are kind of the markers for telling that they are part of the sneaker world.
This knowledge builds a distinct identity and a sense of belonging within the community.
Oh, I'm taking a look here. There are quite a few. I think I'm going to point out this pair. So these are off-white All-Stars. These are off-white Chucks. And this pair for me, because it all started with Converse, this is a very special pair for me. And in particular, Virgil Abloh was a designer for Off-White and he passed away. And so this is one of those pairs that, never again will we see designs particularly from him. And so having this pair in my collection, having it be a Converse, having it be an All-Star this is probably the most coveted pair in my collection for me personally. It's not, and in the sneaker world, I tell people, buy what you buy, buy what you like and wear what you like. There's a lot of, oh, I have to get that pair that is reselling for a crazy amount of money. It is so popular. Everyone wants it. But you can walk into a store as long as you like a pair. That's all that matters. And I think when I say Converse is still my favorite to this day, people are like, oh, but you have all these Jordans and Nike and all that, which I do love, which are part of my story. But because it all started with a pair of Converse for me, this pair is very special to me. Okay, so as you can see here, the Converse is actually a bit unique. It says Converse All-Star and it's upside down. And yeah, this just has the classic off-white. One of the big things for Virgil Abloh was kind of writing what the item was and just putting a twist on the shoes. So if here it actually says the name of the shoe on the shoe, he had like a carpet and that was green and he put wet grass on the carpet. So it was always kind of labeling what that thing was. And so that's on there, the detail of the shoe, where it was made, and just the traditional Converse All-Star, and then his orange tag. And then this was also a big part of his designs, was his orange tag here. And so that's part of the shoe. And interestingly enough, there is this debate in the sneaker world as, do you wear the tag or do you not? I haven't decided if I'll wear it yet, but yeah, that's also a feature on the shoe. So even the shoelaces say shoelaces, like, you know, everything, his branding was kind of to label things as they are. Like this pair, these were from Premium Good in Houston, and I actually met the designer and the owner of the shop, and so these have beads on them, and as a South African, beads are a huge part of our culture. And so that was like a small detail, but a big point of connection for me personally. Someone else might be like, oh, I like the color, I like the gold details on the laces here, you know? So people connect with different pairs for different reasons. And I don't think it's always sneakerheads who have to connect with a pair of sneakers, but it can be as simple as someone would walk in and be like, I like the color. But for me, I saw the beads and instantly thought of the traditional beads we wear in South Africa.
A feature that calls my attention to Thando's experience is the presence of a special type of solidarity and the willingness to share knowledge that's not necessarily present and valued by everyone, but similar to other worlds, conflicts within the diversity of participants of their unique ethos.
Other things that you should know about sneakers. My biggest thing is, you know, anyone can get into sneakers. If you like a pair of sneakers, you know, go pick them up and wear them. And I think wear what you like. And yeah, I think that's a big part of it. If you're interested into getting into the sneaker world and the sneaker community, start asking questions, you know, even if you're at your local store, if they might not know, like, or you see someone with a cool pair as they enter the store, mention it, say something. I know I've met people, oh, I really like your shoes. I've had all sorts of people, like kids usually tend to like the more colorful shoes. And so they'll see my sneakers, oh, I really like your shoes. Oh, I really like your shoes. But at work, I've had 80-year-old women being like, I really like those. And so I think it's one of those things that a lot of people don't necessarily have a personal connection with, but if they like it, if they see it, they'll tell you and they'll share that information, like, oh, I really like those. So even for me, if I'm wearing a pair and I'm like, oh, you know, there's not a huge sneaker community around here, but it's one of those things that people, if they really like them, they'll also share it and say it. And it's usually the colors, or they like you know, the special features on them.
For many, collecting is more than a pastime. It is part of who they are. It shapes their identity, influences their style, and even opens doors to unexpected opportunities. Sneaker conventions, online forums, meetups. Collecting isn't just about the shoes. It's about the people, the shared enthusiasm, and the connections built along the way. It also connects them with global issues and causes, such as sustainability and environmental issues.
In terms of the sneaker community and, you know, sustainability and paying attention to kind of causes. I know a lot of brands are starting to be like, hey, let's be careful with our packaging and not sending everything in a big box. So, you know, it'll kind of come in a box that is exactly the size of the original shoe box. And so everything is kind of smaller and compact. A big trend was they used to use, especially with Nike and Jordan, they used to have inserts for the shoe. So the shoe that I just showed you, the inserts used to be plastic, and so now they're just like recycled tissue paper. And so that's a thing where Adidas a few years ago had a campaign, and this sneaker, I was never able to find it because I don't think they actually released it, but it was supposed to be made out of mushrooms. And so, like, you know, finding materials that aren't so many plastics and finding alternatives, less packaging, that's a big thing. And I think in terms of causes and outreach, there are a lot of initiatives. I actually have a pair of sneakers that is, it's called an SB, and it pays tribute and kind of raises awareness about mental illness and trigger warning about SI and suicidal ideation. And so this was a skate company that was like, you know what, one of our friends struggled with this, and so we now have an initiative and we are paying homage and we are raising funds to help kids who are struggling with mental health issues and those sorts of problems. So yeah, I think there are quite a few companies in general and initiatives, and because a lot of sneakers, and probably my favorite part of sneakers is storytelling, hearing people's stories. And so through that, people are able to share their stories. They're able to share about the things they care about. A release that just came out earlier this week were the Nigel Sylvester's Brick by Brick. And so those were talking about, you know, where he grew up in Brooklyn, but then also talking about like building life brick by brick. He had another release last year where he talked about his grandma's driveway, and that's where he learned to ride, and that's where he learned to get on a bike. And so there are those special connections, and yeah, I would have to say that's probably one of my favorite parts, is those connections, being able to relate to someone's story through their pair of sneakers, but also seeing that connection. So the Brick by Bricks this week, for me, they reminded me of the bricks we use in South Africa to build our houses. You know, so it wasn't in Brooklyn, but it's very similar, where from South Africa, this is what my grandma's house looks like. Like, this is the color of those bricks. And so that's a special shoe. I didn't get it, but I'm trying to get it. They actually released in South Africa. And so I messaged a few people. I'm like, hey, how can you help me get these shoes? So even that community, hearing people's stories. And there's a company that I love, Whitaker Group. They have a few stores, and I'm a Manier. I've been to a couple of their locations. They're a Black-owned company. They do an amazing job of telling people's stories and connections. And their next campaign is actually about love, and that's the meaning of my name. So something so simple, but it's like, okay, this is a company that I love. Their next campaign is about love and getting back to for the things you love and the people you love, and, you know, actually spreading love in these interesting and very tough times in our world. And yeah, and they're also, you know, releasing some amazing pairs of sneakers. That all ties in, and I'm like, perfect. So yeah.
The idea of a unique world around collecting is intriguing, and you can easily see the distinguishing qualities of serious leisure in Thando's experiences. Going back to my childhood, within my restricted network as a boy, I could never connect to a larger community of philatelists or stamp collectors. Thando described a great community. Unlike Thando, I didn't immerse myself in the world of collecting, seeking rare pieces, learning the stories behind each one, and connecting with others who share the same passion and values. Comparing these two examples is a fantastic illustration of how leisure experiences vary depending on the culture, the access, and the resources available to people, even when an opposite belief can easily deceive us. Leisure is not equally experienced across the globe. Among hobbyists, particularly collectors, what may be true for some who share access to that unique world is that a collection is more than objects being gathered. It's a journey, a passion, a place of collective education, and a part of one's identity.